Oh.
So close. I'm sorry. I got feisty. Yes. It shouldn't be it was 110. I would never say
Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2.
I always tell you.
Did you see this exclusive that ABC got? on
God, my
Sunday?
shoes. Mic check 1 2 3 4 5.
A little tax can go a long way. VIA Metropolitan's top exec says they can use it.
There are kind of three buckets, if you will.
Jeffrey Arndt says the money would help implement new options like the VIA Link service it's been using on the Northeast side and improve bus service in the core area, including frequency.
45% of our service.
Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
Some afternoon showers trying to get their act together, aren't we all, as they move south through South Texas and the Hill Country.
Yes, we are. Some lucky few getting a little bit of rain, but is it going to turn into anything more meaningful? Adam Caskey will have the latest coming up in just a few minutes.
But first, San Antonio voters will be asked to consider a double handoff of a 1/8 cent sales tax in the upcoming election, which funds linear parks and aquifer protection. But that tax expires next year. There'll be two questions on the November ballot on what to do with the tax next.
The city wants to use it through 2025 for workforce training and scholarships. After that, VIA, through the Advanced Transportation District, wants the money to go to transit funding. VIA's president and CEO tells Garrett Berger what voters would get for their money.
A little tax can go a long way. VIA Metropolitan's top exec says they can use it.
There are kind of three buckets, if you will.
Jeffrey Arndt says the money would help implement new options like the VIA Link service it's been using on the Northeast side and improve bus service in the core area, including frequency.
45% of our service used to run once an hour in the middle of the day, and it will drop to like 3%.
VIA also wants to use some of the money for capital and technology projects and will be planning for an advanced rapid transit system, essentially large buses traveling in dedicated lanes. Though that particular project would require more money than just a sales tax.
With additional funding from other sources, especially for capital improvement, including the federal government, we are still moving forward in all the planning that would allow us to move into a federal grant prospect if and when they become available.
The sales tax would bring in about $38.5 million each year to the Advanced Transportation District. VIA would get half of that, and the city and county would each get a quarter. However, Arndt says all of those dollars would be dedicated for transit.
VIA and its supporters say the agency is underfunded, and they need more money to make public transit work for the people who depend on it. If voters approve, VIA wouldn't see the tax money until 2026. But Arndt says having it locked in would mean they can use it to pursue more money.
For example, if there's an infrastructure program in the next year or two, for us to be able to leverage those programs, because again, we will have the money to operate assured through the vote.
Provided, of course, the voters agree. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
We now know the name of the man killed over the weekend while police say he and others were playing with a gun. The Bexar County Medical Examiner says 22-year-old Isaiah Riojas died Saturday morning near Rosemont at Bethel Place Apartments on Acme Road. According to police, Riojas and some other people were in a car when he was shot in the back. Officers say he got out of the car after he was hit, then collapsed in the courtyard. He died at the scene. One person has been charged in connection with the shooting, 19-year-old Jamie Riojas. We don't know if they're related or not, but he's been charged with manslaughter.
Police are trying to track down whoever's responsible for a deadly shooting on the northeast side. Officers called to the 34,000 block of Salado Creek Drive after 11:30 last night, where they found the victim's body in a parking lot. They say it looks like someone broke into his apartment and there was some type of confrontation. Several bullet casings were found near the unidentified man's body. Right now, investigators are going through surveillance video to help them identify the people responsible.
Several failed attempts to rob and carjack people near Kirby this morning. It's landed 2 men behind bars tonight. Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar says after the attempted robbery near Lake Bend Drive, the suspects tried to get away. But during the pursuit, he says they abandoned that vehicle, and then one of them tried to carjack a man for his truck. That man escaped and took his keys with him. Then Salazar says the same suspect, shown here, went to the nearby Evergreen Lube stop and stole a car right in the middle of an oil change. The shop owner says he was down in the oil pit changing the oil when he looked up and noticed the car rolling backwards.
He went in back way, and I saw the police coming in this way, and I stopped the police and I told him he stole the car. Yeah. And the police went back and chasing him again.
Officials say the car left behind a trail of oil, which made it easy to find. After crashing into a patrol car near Walsham and 35, the suspect then tried to run. He was arrested after a scuffle with 2 deputies. It's unclear when the second suspect was apprehended. They're looking at multiple charges between the 2 of them.
Well, the pandemic has turned people's worlds upside down, but it's also had a big effect on cats here in San Antonio. The closure of spay and neuter facilities over the past few months has led to an explosion in the population of outdoor cats. I spoke with the president of the San Antonio Feral Cat Coalition, who's working tirelessly to find a solution. San Antonio is known to have a huge population of outdoor cats.
In San Antonio, the cats breed year-round.
That's why the San Antonio Feral Cat Coalition was formed about 15 years ago to help spay and neuter cats. Sherry Durdock is the coalition president.
We also rescue and do adoptions. We help people with their vet bills. We help with food.
The pandemic has thrown all that work into overdrive.
Around mid-March, a lot of the spay-neuter clinics had to close due to COVID. And then by the end of March, the Animal Care Services Community Cat Program closed down. And they were the high-volume spay-neuter clinic for outside cats, and they had a free service.
ACS was spaying and neutering about 120 cats per week through the Trap Neuter Release program.
We started looking around, trying to work with anyone who was still open, doing cats, including private vets. And we were able to work with some, but we had to pay full price.
In the month of April, Durdock's spay neuter bill was $29,000. Typically, it's around $10,000 a month. But she says paying that much is a necessary investment.
More kittens were born who are going to be breeding and having their own kittens by the fall. So we're going to be digging out from this for quite a while.
The Feral Cat Coalition is run strictly by volunteers. They request grants when available, but operate primarily on donations. If you're interested in volunteering or donating, just head to KSAT.com.
In time saver traffic right now, let's check out the TransGuide camera at I-35 and South Cross. This is actually the cameras on I-35, but you're looking at South Cross, and you can see there's some type of accident or something going on there. You can see police are on the scene along with what looks like at least a couple of tow trucks. It's causing a bit of a backup at that intersection. We're trying to find out exactly what's going on here. A flashback 4 years ago, pre-pandemic, the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia looked far different than it does now. So will next week's Republican convention, for that fact. The Democratic caucus began at noon ahead of tonight's mostly virtual convention that wraps up Thursday. Jesse DeGriato reports it will be the first presidential nominating convention for the Bexar County Democratic chair, who's also one of the 228 delegates from Texas.
Using a cell phone, Bexar County's Democratic chair and a fellow Democrat intently follow Congressman Joaquin Castro and others during the Democratic National Convention's Hispanic Caucus. Live streaming on an assortment of digital devices may be the convention venue of choice in this era of COVID-19. But when it comes to getting out the vote, especially hard-to-reach Latinos, there's always an old standby.
Where you go around with the bullhorn and you go up and down the streets and we bring them out and we ensure that we energize the base.
Many Latino women were already energized, she says, when they saw Kamala Harris had joined the Democratic presidential ticket.
My goodness, the moment that she was announced, I can tell you that the phones would not stop ringing off the wall at the headquarters. I believe she's a strong woman, and so they resonate with just seeing the strength within her.
Alcantara says she and the other Democratic delegates scattered across the nation want to know, if elected, what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will do about voting rights, racial injustice, the ever-present pandemic, and more.
Once we have new leadership is when I believe that as a nation we'll begin to heal.
Jesse Degollado, KSAT 12 News.
Well, for a lot of local students, teachers, and families across the city, today is the first day of school. But as we know, this school year will look very different. As Max Massey shows us, a lot of local schools like KSAT High School have been getting ready to move curriculum online as they begin virtually.
It has been difficult to adapt, but not impossible.
Letza Martinez is a 10th grader here at KSAT High School, and like so many students across the country, she's headed back to school online.
They were extremely proactive in a reactive condition, and happy that our school district was really looking out for our kids as well as for the staff.
SAISD and KSAT taking every precaution that they can think of, including a high-tech approach like this, using QR codes, so that way a student or a staff member can just walk up, click it, press the link. What needs attention? For this instance, it would be out of hand sanitizer. It goes directly to the custodial staff of not only the school, but the entire district.
This is a new way of learning for students and for families, but also for teachers.
It is a totally new way of teaching, one that we've had to learn since March.
It's a challenge, making virtual learning as effective as in person.
The training has been very positive. We want to find methods and ways that include technology and educational tools that will engage the students.
KSAT isn't a typical high school.
I would like to be a pediatrician. I want to be a doctor, and KSAT is a great start.
It's a free public school for students who want to enter the medical field. And this year, it included internships.
The more we can train our young folks to become professionals that will help the community here, the better off we'll all be.
More medical professionals in our community are more important than ever. As for this school year, Letza has some advice for her fellow students.
Try to stay as positive as you can, because we will get through this. There will be an end.
Max Massey, KSAT 12 News.
And here's a look outside with our live cam. Look at that nice downpour on the west side of San Antonio. It's good to see some activity on the radar screen and even visible here from our live cam. All right, taking a look at our aquifer, it is down a little bit today. We could use the rain, obviously we know that, and we are seeing some showers on the radar screen, especially closer to the border, particularly moving into Maverick County, between Del Rio and Eagle Pass and into northern Maverick County. Also locally, west side of town, Helotes area westward, on and toward Rio Medina, Medina Lake area, Lake Hills, and then Seguin, good heavy rainfall, but not exactly convenient if you're driving along I-10 or even 123. We'll talk more about this rain and rain chances for the rest of the week coming up.
We're reporting tonight 70 new cases of COVID-19, which brings our total to 44,122 in our community since the pandemic began. This is good news because our 7-day average continues to decline. It's currently at 166 new cases per day. We do unfortunately have a number of new deaths to report tonight, 19 total, which brings the total since the pandemic began to 617. These are deaths that have been fully verified and investigated, and they occurred between June 28th and yesterday. 16 of the deaths are from reviewing death certificates provided by the state to Metro Health, which verified the deaths were in fact COVID-19 related. And again, as we go through these numbers, remember the stories that we are hearing. You heard from my colleague on Friday. These are loved ones and neighbors, colleagues, friends and family. So please do keep all of them and their survivors in your prayers. Tonight, we're reporting 603 people in the hospital, which is down 9 from yesterday, 40 new admissions in the hospitals. 267 are in the ICU. That's down 12 from yesterday, and 188 on ventilators, which is down 4 from yesterday. These numbers, again, are all moving in the right direction, and our capacity continues to improve. We do have 56% of capacity, 56% of ventilators available, as well as 18% of staffed hospital beds available, and so our hospital system is now under high stress, down from severe. That is an improvement from the past month or so. It's Monday, and as you know, we update our progress and warning indicators every week. You can see those on covid19.sanantonio.gov. So let me go through some of those highlights that we're watching weekly to guide our decision-making process. The epi curve is showing a slight but consistent decline over the past 14 days, with some fluctuations in the daily daily case counts. We are near full capacity in both testing and contact tracing in terms of the number of cases that we should receive at any given time. And for the third week in a row, we are seeing a decrease in the daily hospitalizations. The rate at which cases double, and that again is one of our key indicators with regard to opening up of schools, is now up to 40 days, which is below our target, actually better than our target, and that's a good thing. But the most important indicator that we want to see come down is the positivity rate of cases, and that's the proportion of cases that come back with positive results. Those tests and that rate have declined over the last week again, but the decline is very slow. So it's still at 11.3%, well above the goal of 5% or less. And the hospitals, as I mentioned before, are now in the high stress category rather than severe. Overall, our risk level in the community continues to slightly go down, which we now characterize as moderate. And again, emphasizing we want to see that positivity rate of tests go down. The positivity rate is an indication of how widespread the infection is in the community, and it is still well above where we want it to be. Let me turn it over now to Judge Wolf.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And things are certainly looking better. I think one important thing that has evolved is that we're able to do already doing 100% of the cases on tracking every day. That's a significant improvement because now we have things somewhat under control, and very, very important in terms of identifying where that person had been and maybe not leading to other infections. So this is a very, very important piece of it. This is the third week in a row now that we've seen hospitalizations go down. That's a very, very good trend now over a pretty good long period of time. And as you say, we need to get the positive rate down. Hopefully this next week we'll see it even go down more, but we still have a ways to go there. Tracy and I had lunch today with Kenny Wilson. He's the CEO of Haven for Hope, and then with Tellis Wells, who's the CEO of the Konkosky Foundation, huge foundation which is making a tremendous difference in the lives of us here in San Antonio. It's an extraordinary effort that they're doing at Haven for Hope. Now, you got to remember these are some of the most vulnerable people in our community. But out of some 1,100 clients that they have, some 300 of them of which are in a hotel. At this point, they have absolutely no positive clients. That's an extraordinary achievement, and they were able to do that by putting in policies early on requiring the face mask, social distancing, sanitation, all of the things that you need to do to be sure and have a safe environment. If they can do that at Haven for Hope, surely any business ought to be able to do that within our community. They really were thankful for the work of Metro Health. You've worked with them and you've really kept them up to date. And then our Bexar County Hospital System, University Hospital, provides a lot of services for them, and they're doing a great job. But one of the important things I think that they've been able to do that we lose track of sometime, that over the last 5 months or so, they've actually taken 400 people and found them housing elsewhere. And so that's a big step in the right direction of trying to address our homeless population here. So, Kenny, thanks a lot for all the great work you guys are doing at Haven for Hope.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, thank you to our team over at Haven for Hope for all the great work that you're doing. I also want to say thank you to all the students out there who may have started schools today. These are very trying times to be starting any grade level, and certainly the teachers and the parents and administrators that are supporting you through distance learning and other activities ought to be commended.
The mayor with a shout out to the parents and the students and the teachers and the administrators that are out there as the first day of school for most of San Antonio's school district gets underway, and of course most of it happening virtually. The number of cases continue to go down. That's good news. 70 new cases. The 7-day average per 24 hours is now to 166, 19 new deaths, though. And so for the first time, we've gone over 600 deaths total to 617.
Yeah, and something else that we talked about was the risk level, which is a good indication that this is falling off. It's moderate now. There are 5 levels that go all the way up to severe, and moderate is just the second.
Yeah, that's good news. He is concerned about the positivity rate, though. They want it at 5% or less. That's of the total number of people who get tested. 5% or less would actually come back positive. Right now, it's at 11.3%. But the stress is being reduced on a lot of different things, including the hospital systems in San Antonio and Bexar County, which is good news. All right, another bit of good news.
Yes.
We've got some rain today.
It's raining at some places.
Of course, not everybody's getting the rainfall, but we do have some good rain out there in some parts of town and South Texas. This is great to see. I love this on our KSAT Connect app, actually part of our Weather Authority app. Take a look at that photo. This is near the SeaWorld area. Good downpour. And this is this is, I think, on the northeast side of town, and that's a good downpour as well. And that was part of the cell that actually dropped a little bit of pea-sized hail earlier today. And Marty, good job with the potted plants, my friend, on the back deck. I like it. I'm impressed. Anyway, Doppler radar showing nice rain in some parts of town, good soaking rain, heavy downpours. Not so convenient if you're on the roadways, but we'll take it. We need this rain. K-Motto to Eagle Pass, heavy rain. Good chunk of northern Maverick County getting the heavy downpours at this hour. And even along I-35 between Divine, Moore, even Bigfoot area, briefly getting clipped with some of those downpours. That's not lasting all that long, but SeaWorld all the way down to Highway 90, right along 1604. We have some heavy downpours as well. These are fairly short-lived, but some of them have produced over an inch of rainfall. And over the La Jolla area on the south side, 281 and 1604, right there between 281 and 37. Good downpour as well. Nice soaking rain, and just near Elmendorf, we've got a little bit of development. At the end of the 5 o'clock show, I mentioned those two boundaries coming together in Seguin. Well, they did what these boundaries often do when they collide and triggered this widespread downpour and thunderstorm, heavy rainfall within that. Temperatures are all over the place right now. Generally, we'll be in the 80s the rest of the evening. And partly cloudy from here on out. Rain chances basically lasting through about the 10 o'clock hour. Then we go the rest of the week right near 100. An isolated shower possible tomorrow. Otherwise sunny and near 100 Wednesday all the way into the upcoming weekend.
As long as it's not 105.
That's right. Sports is up next.
The kickoff of the high school football season is now just over a week away for teams in Class 4A to 1A. And now another area high school has shut down its football workouts following positive coronavirus test. The Navarro Panthers, picked up in the preseason in the top 10 in the state, by the way, by Texas Football Magazine, have become the latest team to suspend all workouts until August the 24th after a total of 18 staff and students have tested positive for COVID-19. That's according to the school district superintendent, Wendy Russell, in a statement posted on the district's website. 8 of those 18 positive tests are students. We had visited the Navarro campus for big game previews, and the Panthers are scheduled to kick off their season against Calhoun in Port Lavaca on August the 28th. Now that game is very much in jeopardy. The Navarro Panthers are not the first area team to shut down football practices due to the coronavirus. The Pleasanton Eagles suspended all workouts until August the 26th. That's after a player tested positive for COVID-19. But the Eagles are scheduled to kick off their season their newly renovated Eagles Stadium against Hondo on August the 28th after they were originally scheduled to face Edison. Our big game previews take us to Lavernia High School, where the Bears are picked by Texas Football Magazine to finish near the top of District 14 4A Division I against Bernie. Coach Chris Tabor returns 13 starters, 7 on offense, 6 on defense, of a team that went 5-6 overall last season and went to the playoffs as by-district finalists. On offense, the Bears welcome back quarterback Gage Lowry, who amassed 2,780 passing yards and 27 touchdowns to team with his wide receiver Darryl Dulac, who had 1,072 yards receiving and 11 TDs. William Salmon will be the centerpiece for both the offense and defensive lines.
I think we weren't as efficient last year, and that's really going to help us this year, being more efficient, passing on defense as well. I think we're a lot more mature this year, and it's going to help us out a lot.
Take nothing for granted, really. I mean, I think we came out and took the team a little lightly at first, but I think this year we're ready to compete at the highest of our potential.
It's everything to our community, you know. It's a big thing in Texas, and it's a especially big thing here in Lavernia.
All right, the Bears are scheduled to open at home against Cuero on Friday, August the 28th at 7:30 p.m. The UTSA Roadrunners are planning on competing this fall despite the COVID-19 pandemic, and coming out their first scrimmage with new head coach Jeff Traylor told us that it was a lot cleaner than he expected. But that isn't the biggest concern for Coach Traylor and his staff right now, not with students moving in today for the fall semester outside of the football program. Just how concerned is he about maintaining the bubble of protection for his players and his staff as a result?
High concern. We've identified it and talked about it a ton. And I'm not going to back off of it, and our kids are bought into it as well. We're pretty loose, in my opinion right now with our own bubble, which got me concerned because we know we're all COVID free for all we test. But now we're fixing to start encountering people that aren't testing like we are, and we had to have our mask on. We had to be 6 feet away, or we're not going to play football. So we've stressed it. And today's a big day, and we're going to be imposing some punishment for anybody we catch without a mask on.
There you go. Coach Traylor added he believes Saturday is the latest day they can learn if they're starting their season on September the 5th or the 12th to get ready for 2020. So not just colleges, high schools, everybody right now is up in the air. The SEC is setting the schedule right now for Texas A&M. They will open against Vandy on September the 26th. They'll have the rest of their home schedule coming up tonight.
A lot of questions when it comes to high school and college and pro football.
I don't see it happening, but again, that's just me.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
You never know. All right. We'll be right back.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Navarro.
Hi.
It's Steve Spriester and Courtney Friedman. Thank you for joining us. We're excited about this conversation.
Thank you.
Anything, I sent you some questions that we had. Is there anything beyond and above that you think we need to talk about?
No, I think those are great questions.
Okay, good. Because that's what I don't want it to seem like a partisan rah-rah thing. So what we do for both the Democrats and the Republicans, I know you're not going to do the Republicans, but your counterpart, right. We can talk to them the same way about basically the same questions. So, okay. Are you going to watch tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, good answer.
He was testing you.
All right, so we are about a minute 45 away.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Campaigns, candidates, now computers. It's what we've come to in the age of COVID. It's our KSAT Q&A, and we are pleased to be joined by UTSA professor in the political science department, Dr. Sharon Navarro. Doctor, thank you for joining us. I asked you before we got started, are you going to watch tonight? What do you think Democrats need to accomplish in this convention? What are their hopes and dreams?
There are 5 must-dos that have to happen tonight to translate into a win in November. The first is building the momentum that Biden generated with the appointment of Harris. He needs to build on the energy that she brings to his campaign, talk about her experience in the Senate and as a prosecutor. He needs to highlight her temperament, should anything happen to him. And he needs to talk about her pragmatism as a public servant. The second factor, I would argue, is party unity. This was difficult to achieve in the Democratic Convention of 2016. There was a deep divide between the progressives under Bernie Sanders and the Hillary Clinton moderate to conservative Democrats. They were never really quite able to translate into a united voice for November. Biden seems to understand history, and he understands how important it is to open up his party, his agenda, to issues that are important to progressives. And this is evident in his list of speakers. Bernie Sanders is opening up the Democratic Convention, and he has a tall task ahead of him. He needs to make the progressives feel comfortable enough to confide in Biden in November. But Biden has to understand that having progressives is also precarious, and that he doesn't want to marginalize the Republican suburban voter who is thinking about voting for Biden. The third factor is he has to begin to unravel the Republican Congress and Trump's failed leadership. And this is where a stark contrast between him and Trump has to be hashed out. It has to be clear cut at this convention speech, but he has to do it in a way that doesn't marginalize the suburban voter. The fourth thing he has to do is paint a picture of the future of America that Biden administration brings. And he has to do it in a way that invites a broad base of support, a broad-based coalition, if you will. And he does this on his acceptance speech. And in that acceptance speech, he has to address 3 factors. The first, why he wants to be president. That has to be clear case. The second, what issues he deems important and how he hopes to address them. And third, why you and I and every other American should vote for him. And I think the last important factor that is a must, that is on all American mind, is his age. Biden has to make the voter, the future voter, the undecided voter, comfortable with the idea that he is not only physically healthy to assume the presidency, but also mentally healthy to assume the toughest job in the country. And that has to be done in his speech. His speech has to be crisp, it has to be energetic, and it's got to be clear and concise for the voter.
And of course, that comes on Thursday night.
Right.
That's
right. Tell us how important the outreach is for minority communities, especially given everything going on in the world right now.
It's incredibly important. Our American electorate is changing. It's becoming more diverse. Both parties realize that they have to rely on a coalition of diverse voters. And we see this evident in the Democratic Party currently. We see it in the list of speakers. Each night there is a diverse, not only in race and ethnicity, but also gender and also generational difference. This is highlighting the differences in how important diversity is to the Democratic Party, that it reflects the voices and the faces of America. The Democratic Party has a theme this election cycle, and that is everyday man. Unlike the Republican Party of 2016 that had a list of celebrities speaking on Trump's behalf, we see this convention of past elected presidents, other elected officials, and we're going to see individuals that resemble you and I. We'll see nurses, teachers, and paramedics that talk about the challenges they face confronting COVID. So the Democratic Party realizes that it needs to reflect the changing demographics of America.
And there have been some concerns, and I've heard some criticism that there seem to be more Republicans that are speaking than necessarily Latino speakers during this convention. So that's one of the critiques I've heard. But what is the final question for you? What is the biggest concern for you if you're a Democrat during this week?
I think there are two big concerns. The first is unity. Are the progressive speakers going to be powerful enough to make progressive electorate and voters confide in Biden on election night? The second is, are these taped speeches, these taped performances going to be enough to generate the excitement that is necessary for the 75-day sprint or so to election night? Is it going to be enough for the undecided voter to flip open their computer, turn on their TV, and stream any speech they want? Will the excitement be generated from this unconventional convention during a pandemic? Those are my two biggest concerns.
It'll be something to look forward to, that's for sure. Dr. Sharon Navarro, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. The news around America in 2020, we've seen shortages from toilet paper to disinfectant wipes to coins thanks to the pandemic. The next thing that may be hard to come by might be hard on pizza lovers. Small pizza shops may have trouble getting pepperoni.
No.
They can still get it, but it's getting expensive. According to Bloomberg, a South Dakota shop is paying $4.12 a pound for pepperoni. That's compared to $2.87 in January of 2019. It's hard any way you slice it.
There we go.
Large chains like Domino's, Pizza Hut, Little Caesars, and Papa John's not getting hit with the price increases because their prices are set in long-term contracts. So the big question is, when it comes to pepperoni, can they meet the demands?
He got two in there.
Yeah, he sounded pretty cheesy if you.
Hey!
I'm just gonna let
you guys have
it. We're both dads. We've got the dad jokes.
Exactly.
Good to see some rain out there from our live cam and even on the radar screen. We have some downpours in parts of South Texas. That's nice to see. Our high temperature today, 99, so we are just shy of 100. The 100-degree day count remains at 25 for now. Speaking of radar, you take a look across Bexar County and even surrounding areas, and you see the downpours that are out there, and even some farther to the west, closer to the border. All of this and much more, including rain chances for later this week coming up.
Well, if you're bummed about the pepperonis, we have some good news in the weather.
That's true.
It didn't hit 100, and there's some rain.
Yeah, and the rain is still out there.
That's the bonus. It's still out there, and I still think we have a few more hours of development in terms of rain showers. Through about 10 o'clock, I think we'll have some areas of rain lingering around town. But the peak heating of the day, when it's the hottest in the afternoon, you get the most boost from the sun and whatnot, that is passing by. Nonetheless, activity remains, and we'll have some, I think, through about 10. So let's take a close look at the radar screen, and you see some widely separated and spotty showers. Downpours, though, and some of them producing over an inch of rainfall because it's just raining so hard within some of these thunderstorms and pockets of rainfall. Northern Maverick County really seeing some heavy soaking rain, a little bit of lightning and thunder, Quemado to Eagle Pass, and just basically the northern third of Maverick County. And even south on I-35, you get into Frio County and parts of Medina County, and that's where we have downpours in the vicinity of I-35 and the west side of San Antonio. We had some in SeaWorld downpours and even stretching just north of Castroville, Rio Medina area in Medina County. And this activity, again, is coming and going. It doesn't last a whole long time in one spot, but some of the showers that have been longer than others have given us some good rainfall. I mean, we're talking an inch to an inch and a half of rain estimated. Northeast side of town, parts of Stone Oak, west side, Helotes area, down toward Rio Medina, about an inch to an inch and a half, and then Seguin as well. Over an inch and a half of rainfall estimated with that continuous ongoing downpour. You get closer into the neighborhoods here, right along Evans Road, north of 1604 and east of 281, 1.5 inches. And west of town, some good healthy rainfall accumulations for some lucky folks and lucky ranches out there. 87 degrees right now. Temperatures dropped off with the rain, and even some outflow boundaries dropped temperatures for communities that didn't even get any of the rainfall. Dew point is 64, so still some mugginess in the air. Pleasanton at 100. And that's really the exception today. 86 Canyon Lake, 90 in Divine, 80 in Helotes. You get to 82 Bandera, and believe it or not, we have some 70s on the map. Lost Maples, Rock Springs right now at 72 degrees, but then you get into the sunshine. Cotulla 102, Carrizo Springs 99, and they don't have those outflow boundaries just yet. Hey, even Del Rio, usually one of the hottest spots on this map, only at 79 degrees. So folks are enjoying some of that rain-cooled air. We had a little impulse of energy move overhead to help kickstart these showers and thunderstorms and those little isolated downpours. And that's because the Big Blue H, the upper level high, has moved far enough to the northwest of us, away from our area, to give us this northerly flow up above us. Within that northerly flow, we have some swirls and little ripples, little impulses of energy. And that's what hit us today, which was enough to take our instability and pop a few showers. I think we'll have a little bit of luck tomorrow, but not quite the same coverage as we had today. So tomorrow we're giving it a 20% chance. So just some isolated, minimal coverage in terms of showers and thunderstorms. And from there on out, I just don't think we'll have the conditions Wednesday through the weekend to generate any more downpours. So these spotty showers through about 10 p.m., then partly cloudy. Not much of a breeze out there. It's shifting and it's variable. Temperatures falling through the 80s. Tomorrow we'll wake up to 74, already 92 at noon, partly cloudy, and that 20% chance for the afternoon hours tomorrow. And I still think right near 100, give or take a degree or two tomorrow through the weekend and even into next week. Here's the key though, Wednesday. We're going to have a little wind shift, and you'll notice a nice little drop in the humidity for Wednesday afternoon. But otherwise, it's your standard sunny and right near 100.
Wednesday's a day to do yard work, if you have it.
Yeah.
If you want to. You don't have to.
Yeah. Well, you might have to. In case you missed it, coming up next.
It is Monday. It is August 17th.
The man who suffered gunshot wounds during a shooting at a Southside flea market yesterday morning has died. The 38-year-old died at the hospital following what police are calling a targeted shooting. It happened about 11:30 at the Mission Open Air Market. In another update to this case, officers say there were actually 4 people shot, not 5 as initially stated. The 3 other males, ages 27, 19, and 14, were taken to hospitals. Their conditions unknown at this hour. Police say multiple shooters were involved, one of which was a security guard who returned fire at the shooter. So far, no arrests have been made.
San Antonio police are looking for a man wanted in connection with the shooting this morning at a north side apartment complex. Police say based on a trail of blood, the shooting likely happened in a walkway between 2 nearby buildings. Witnesses told police they heard an argument and then a single gunshot. The victim was hit in his upper body and taken to the hospital. He is expected to survive.
2 officers in Portland, Oregon were injured when protesters threw a nearly 10-pound rock at them. But that wasn't all they were throwing. Police say protesters not only began throwing rocks, but they were also throwing frozen eggs and glass bottles at officers. According to police, one of the rocks weighed 9.5 pounds. Both officers went to the hospital. No word on their condition. The incident happened on the city's 79th consecutive night of protests against police brutality. Magician David Blaine attempted
Here's today's ICYMI.
It is Monday. It is August 17th.
A man who suffered gunshot wounds during a shooting at a Southside flea market yesterday morning has died. The 38-year-old died at the hospital following what police are calling a targeted shooting. It happened about 11:30 at the Mission Open Air Market. In another update to this case, officers say there were actually 4 people shot, not 5 as initially stated. The 3 other males, ages 27, 19, and 14, were taken to hospitals. Their conditions unknown at this hour. Police say multiple shooters were involved, one of which was a security guard who returned fire at the shooter. So far, no arrests have been made.
San Antonio police are looking for a man wanted in connection with the shooting this morning at a north side apartment complex. Police say based on a trail of blood, the shooting likely happened in a walkway between 2 nearby buildings. Witnesses told police they heard an argument and then a single gunshot. The victim was hit in his upper body and taken to the hospital. He is expected to survive.
2 officers in Portland, Oregon were injured when protesters threw a nearly 10-pound rock at them. But that wasn't all they were throwing. Police say protesters not only began throwing rocks, but they were also throwing frozen eggs and glass bottles at officers. According to police, one of the rocks weighed 9.5 pounds. Both officers went to the hospital. No word on their condition. The incident happened on the city's 79th consecutive night of protests against police brutality. Magician David Blaine attempting his first major live event in more than a decade. Blaine announced Friday he's going to be attempting to float over the Hudson River from New Jersey to New York City while holding onto a bunch of helium balloons. It's set for August 31st and will air exclusively on his YouTube channel.
We'll take the time saver traffic TransGuide camera at 1604 and Petranco. You can see a blue pickup there that's being towed away and another vehicle that apparently crashed into one another at this intersection and caused a backup, still causing a backup. You can see all the traffic at the top. They are not getting through this intersection right now. Again, it's loop 1604 at Petranco.
And we still have some rain on the radar screen. Some downpours are out there, especially west of San Antonio, Maverick County, the northern portion of Maverick County, and even Eagle Pass up toward about Cape Motto. Still seeing the downpours, and along I-35 south of San Antonio, particularly Divine area. Between Divine and Moore along I-35, a little bit of lightning and thunder, but some healthy rainfall. South side of San Antonio, we've had a few little showers, especially 281 and 1604, but that is coming to an end and really didn't amount to much. Then we get farther to the west side of San Antonio and into Medina County, and that activity is starting to come to an end. So at least we've had some good rainfall. And by the way, don't want to forget Seguin. You just had over an inch estimated, and that is slowly drifting toward Nixon. As we go through the rest of the week, 20% chance tomorrow, otherwise sunny, right near 100.
See you on the Night Beat at 10.
Have a good night.